Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, pretty good here. Here we are on November 6th. I'm telling you, Sean, I am so glad these elections are over. I tell you, it's almost as the stress is gone. It's almost as a relief, or the stress is so bad. It was equivalent to like watching a Cowboys game.
No stress until the Yankees are in the fifth inning and have
Yeah.
three errors
Oh, jeez. No,
after waiting
no.
20 years. That
Right.
stress, this shit is easy, right? I think the
Yeah.
saddest part about it, look, I, I've been involved in politics 20 years.
Yeah.
And, I'm 56 years old, or 57 years old, actually. And so I've been around for a short journey. But I've never seen a time where people were so vicious against each other. Even people that you loved, even people that were your family and friends.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't say to somebody, I'm voting for Trump without them saying, go fuck yourself, I don't want to be your friend no more,
Yeah.
then there's a serious problem.
Hmm.
But listen, did you see the? I gotta just ask you this because I can't understand what the whole point of this press conference was. But did you see the press conference with Letitia James, the governor and Letitia James?
Actually, I missed that. I was out today doing some wrap up things, but I
Yeah,
did
well,
miss it.
I got it right here, and you got to
Yeah,
watch it. I'm going to play it because I
sure.
just listen to this woman.
Because as the Attorney General of this great state, it is my job to protect and defend the rights of New Yorkers and the rule of law. And I will not shrink from that responsibility.
She can only wish she'd shrink.
Yeah,
Yeah, look at the face she makes here.
yeah,
Like,
You see, between 2019 and 2021, the Office of the Attorney General we took nearly 100 legal actions against the previous Trump administration,
that's probably why you won.
including when he attempted
yeah,
to cap the state and local tax, and when he sought to eliminate funds and grants for law enforcement officers here in the state of New York. We fought to preserve DACA and protect the Affordable Care Act. We fought to prevent a question about citizenship from being on the census because we were concerned about the impact of funding, the lack of funding to the state of New York, and how it would affect these programs. We beat the Muslim ban. We stopped the dismantling of the United States Postal Service.
So the point of this is what? So you have a president or a candidate who wins and is the president elect.
yep.
And the
Hmm.
state of New York has a press conference with this moron because she's a moron, right? I think
Yeah,
she helped get Trump elected. She may
yeah,
not know it, but I think she helped Trump. He had the biggest. I think he was at 44 or 45% in the state of New York. He picked up like
yeah.
10 points over anybody who's run for president in the state.
Well, he won
And
Cohoes, I could tell you that.
well, without outside of
Yeah, even
New
that.
York
Yeah,
City, I always call it the cesspool of politics.
yeah.
If you got rid of New York City and separated it from the rest
This
of
would
New
be a
York, you'd
red.
have a chance to you'd have a
Right, it'd
chance
be a
to
red
be
state.
well, you'd have a chance to be part of something other
Yeah,
than just
yeah,
it's like casting a vote that just goes out the window.
yeah.
But
It's true. Yeah,
why would you have a press conference that just basically comes out and says, we're gonna here's what she said. We're going to protect New York State against something. If something happens, I don't know what will happen, but if it happens, we're going to be there to protect you
hmm,
because we want you to know if it happens. It was like listening to like somebody in a circus. It had no value. It showed that even at the highest level of political office, there's a hatred for this country
yeah,
and there's a
yeah,
disrespect for the majority. Remember, I always used to say when I was running unions, I used to say, hey, the majority rules and the minority has a right to speak and be respected, right?
yeah.
These people
And
don't feel that way. These people just basically think that everybody who voted for Trump is some type of moron and that, you know, 87 million people are, wrong and they're right and they can't accept the fact that they got their asses kicked, Timmy.
Right, and here you got Sean Van Sweet saying more word salad, which is true. But here's the point: this thing already went before an appeals court, the state of appeals there, and you're going to see this thing get dismissed, okay? And my guess is once this thing is dismissed, Trump's going to turn around and sue the state and sue her for all the legal fees and everything on else because
Here's the problem. No, I
it's
don't
just
even know
the
what.
insanity. Yeah, with this Judge Engoron or whatever, but the
But I'm saying I don't
insanity
even know what
is
she's talking about. She didn't come out and just mention anything. She just basically did
right.
what Sean Van Sleet said. She just came
Yeah,
out and made a word salad. It really
yeah.
sounded like I just said. We're
Sore
here.
loser.
We're here to protect you in case something happens. We don't know what
Hmm.
will happen, but if it does happen and it happens to happen, we're ready
Hmm.
for it. I mean,
Yeah,
how about you come out and say New York State is a proud state? We are a blue state. We did the best we could. We have a new president, but we need to be united to bring our country back, and we'll do everything we can to work with the new administration. You don't have a
that.
press conference basically to come out and say to the guy, we're watching you, and if you
Yeah.
do something, we're coming after you.
Hmm.
It doesn't
Yeah,
help the state of New York. This lady is in a position she shouldn't even be in.
I agree.
Okay?
Yeah. Hmm.
She should have never got elected. This is above her head. She sounds like a fool. She talks like a fool.
She's bitter.
She's bitter.
You know.
She's bitter. But
Yeah, you can't accept the outcome of this thing. And look at it. I think that when this thing all wraps on up there like that, none of this is going to move forward. There. He can actually pardon himself if he really wants to. If she just continues on, it's just insanity.
he can't pardon himself because it's not a federal
Yeah, well,
case,
that's true.
state case. But move past all that shit. Donald Trump won re-election in a sweeping landslide.
Yep,
Okay, a
and it
sleep.
was.
It was a landslide.
Hmm.
Now, when you looked at the polls, in some sense, the polls are right. It said, "Hey, this is going to come down to the Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, blah blah blah," and it
Yeah,
did come down to them. The problem is he won far greater than they thought he'd win, far more votes than they thought he would get, and he swept the whole country for Christ's sake.
hey,
Um,
and right, Limo Jr. just made a great comment. He goes, "I am finally unburdened by what has been."
yeah, it's all over Facebook. The
Yeah,
Kamala Harris, but
right.
um, this was a resounding landslide. And Timmy, I got to be honest with you.
Hmm.
I told you 1,000 times I'm a Democrat, man, but I'm not a leftist Democrat. I'm a middle of the road to the right kind of Democrat, right?
Hmm.
And I think the very far left of the Democratic Party
Yep,
should be patted on the back by the
yep,
Trump administration because they are the reason he won.
yep,
You can only push the craziest shit ideas so far before even the people in your party go, this is crazy.
yeah,
The border wide open, the transgender, the men playing girls' sports. They underestimated how fathers and mothers and grandmothers
hmm,
really felt, uncles and aunts. They underestimated how we felt about those issues,
yep,
and they thought that they could just continue to say abortion, abortion, abortion. Listen, I always get myself in trouble because I speak my mind, and I'm just being honest.
yeah,
Abortion is a woman's right to choose, right? I don't know. They hide it under the umbrella of women's reproductive health. I call bullshit. It has got nothing to do with reproductive health. If a small group of them have a major issue because of their health, there should be no question that a mother should be able to survive if having a baby is going to kill her. Okay? I mean,
yeah.
there's no question.
Modern
That,
times now, especially.
that should not even be a question. But for all the people that go out and get pregnant and just say, I don't want to have a baby, and think that the world should view that as the most important thing when people that are alive can't afford to buy groceries.
Hmm.
So I think a lot of women said, hey, listen, abortion is really important to us. Women's health is very important to us. But whether we like it or not, the Supreme Court heard the case. It is now going to be a state issue, and there's nothing we can do about that. We live in a blue state. We live in this state. Our state is going to vote for it. There may be limitations, but it's still available, and we have other things more important, like eating, having
Yeah,
food on our table, being
yeah,
able to
and
pay for our
right,
fuel
and I
and our
and I,
heat,
and
our
I think
car.
did all they really did, Shauna, you know this, is they just turned around and the Supreme Court didn't remove anything. They just, gave each state the opportunity to decide
Yeah, they gave it to the
their own
people.
way. Okay, so here's a question I'll throw at you. Okay, what's to prevent a woman who needs an abortion for whatever reason to just slip over a state line and get it done?
Well, nothing. In fact, some of these far left politicians wanted to look like heroes and said, if your
Yeah,
state stops abortion, you can come here and we'll put
yeah,
you up and we'll help pay for it.
sure.
Listen, abortion is important to women. It's not something I like to talk about because I think
Yep.
it should be between the woman, her family, maybe her priests or her pastors.
Hmm.
It's something that's really private.
Yeah.
But it should not be the driving issue for a whole entire country. If you're 90 years old, you shouldn't be concerned about whether you can have an abortion.
Hmm.
If you're 19 years old thinking about your life right now, that shouldn't be the driving thing in your life. But when they were doing the exit polls,
Yeah.
they went to all these young girls and made it look like everybody in line was against Trump over abortion.
Yeah.
And the reality is, abortion's important for people. I get it, and I respect the right to feel that way. But you also have to take care of the people that are alive. You got to be able to eat.
Yeah, and I think part of the issues too is where some of the abortions are far, far, far too late term. I mean,
Oh, crazy.
there's several states like in Texas. Okay, they voted and upheld 6 weeks. So so it depends on what state you're in and stuff like that. But bottom line is, every state seems to have its own morality. Like you might go to Utah, where you might have a lot of the Mormons, I believe, or whatever. So they all have their own
Listen,
concept.
there should be
Yeah,
no such thing unless the mother's going to have complications and it will take her life.
yeah, that
There should be
incest,
no
rape.
abortion that's happening
Hmm.
at 8, 9 months. To me, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
That
When you're
that to
that
me,
far along, you had to
that's a
know.
baby.
Yeah,
I
it's a
mean,
human
I know people
being.
had babies that come out that were 3 pounds, that
Hmm.
were 8 weeks, 10 weeks premature, and they're just little tiny babies. They got arms, they got legs, they breathe, they have a brain.
And then,
Some of
then
it
why
becomes
isn't it murder after that point instead of
well,
abortion?
some of it becomes more than I can handle. But I don't want to get stuck on the
Yeah,
abortion part. Donald Trump
yeah.
ran a great campaign. He talked about the issues that mattered the most to the people: putting food on your table, keeping your kids safe, keeping you safe, closing down the borders, making sure that we drill, baby, drill, and start lowering the price of goods in our country because we have all these anti business policies. And he stuck to that message.
Hmm.
And Kamala Harris's message was, you're a Nazi, you're a Hitler."
We're
When asked,
garbage.
yeah, asked what when asked what you're going to do about this, her response would be, "Well, I was raised in a middle class family."
Right.
Well, so ain't everybody watching you, but what does that got to do with the price of fuel?
Hmm.
She never answered a question.
Yeah, she doesn't go buy her own groceries.
No, these,
You
it's.
know,
I think there's a lot of people in the country that woke up feeling like there was a new, fresh breeze blowing through the wind that was going to make them feel better. And listen, I'll be the first one to tell you, I voted for Donald Trump.
Let me tell you some of the things that people have told me, and this is relatives. Okay, they liked hearing. Okay, that uh, they work in jobs, Sean, that they may find themselves mandated, can't get, like nursing and stuff
Yeah.
like that, right? And they can't get home. And then what they find is the government digs in and takes a huge chunk of their overtime pay. And it resonated with them, no tax on tips for people who are working in that industry, that waitresses and stuff. It resonated with no tax on overtime. I mean, these things matter when you're in a job in which you go to work and then you find that when it's your time to go home, you can't go home, and then you're stuck there, and then the government takes a huge chunk of what you earned because you were
Yeah.
stuck.
Yeah. And
And
they're
so,
tangible. They're tangible
yeah,
things that people are going to feel. They got to feel it in their check.
yeah,
They're going to
yeah,
feel it.
and
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 seniors who've worked their whole life, they finally get their Social Security. Don't have
yeah,
to pay tax.
hmm
Excuse me.
yeah,
But these are real, tangible things that I think are going to help the American uh, taxpayers
yep,
with a little bit of relief. It's not easy to figure out how to save money when you have a country that spends 1,000 times more an hour than the country combined spends, right?
hmm yeah.
Um, so I think Elon Musk is as wacky as I think he is. The man is brilliant. He's a facade. I think he's
Well, you know
brilliant.
what he did actually, okay? He spent $44 million and he ended up buying the House of Representatives, the US Senate, and the presidency.
Well, there's no doubt he had a role in it. And
Yeah.
what I do believe though that if you go in and look at government,
hmm
there's a lot of waste, brother.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
In fact, they even asked him. They said to him, "How much money do you think you'd be able to cut out of the government waste?" And he's got thinking about that, and he said probably at least $2 trillion.
and I
Imagine
believe
that.
it. I believe he will if
Yeah,
they give him the
yeah,
opportunity. Sometimes you gotta deal with a little pain,
yeah,
right? But I mean, I remember when I was in politics, I used to do a lot of reading about laws and programs and what's the best program I could go after as a legislator to get money for cities and local government. But you would find shit, Timmy, where they'd be spending $17 million on a program to watch cockroaches to see if they walk around the building all right or do they go left when they scatter. I mean,
yeah.
maybe that's a little far fetched, but I was
Well,
reading.
actually, it's not because they do actually stupid studies like that all the time.
No, these were real studies. It wasn't
Yeah,
cockroach. I don't. Maybe it was because that came to my mind. But I mean, I seen stupid shit that were, and then most of it really was like Nancy Pelosi just giving money to her friends that are doing these studies.
yeah,
That's all it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
It
That's it.
isn't real study. Who gives a shit about cockroaches?
Yeah, because it gets washed back to them. They want to send 6 billion now to the
Yeah.
Ukraine before the end of the year, and they're going to all take their cuts overseas, and whatever washes its way back here ends up in the politicians' pockets. I mean, this is the crap that happens, Sean.
Yeah, and I really do believe, I wholeheartedly believe that if Trump stays in his lane,
hmm
there are a lot of problems. Is he wacky? Absolutely. Is he nuts? Absolutely. When he walks into these rooms with other leaders, does he put his chest up and push them out of the way?
He does
Absolutely.
do that.
I
Yes.
think you have to be a little insane. I'm going to tell
Yeah.
you something. Think about this. Just think about hanging in a bar with 4 or 5 of your friends, and you're all talking about the old days, and
Yeah.
and some guy walks in the bar and he's a big guy and he pushes you out of the way. You might want to punch him one, but you're like, I'm not messing around with that guy,
Yeah.
right? That's what
Mm.
he is. He's somewhat insane, I think,
I
because
think he's.
he got balls to
Yeah,
walk
he's
into a
just
room.
he's accustomed to leadership because he's in charge of his
Some of
own
it is
big
even
ordinance.
beyond that.
You
You'll
know.
see him
Yeah.
shake hands. He'll give you the,
Yeah.
or he'll, if it's time for a photo, he'll walk in between Putin
Yeah. It
and then
does.
push him out of the way and say, "No, the United States should be first in
Yeah.
line."
Yeah.
That's what I like about him.
Yeah. And
I don't like him. I
so
don't
what
like
they
his
do,
mouth.
right? So what they do, Sean, is in order to take that away from, they call them an isolationist, okay? But we're a generous country. We help out a lot of other countries, and all they do is turn around and shit on us, okay? I bet you he already made a phone call to, and he said he was going to do this down the president of Mexico, say, you stop those lines of people coming in here, or else you're not going to be able to export anything into this
Well,
country.
I guarantee that there's one thing about him.
Hmm.
He keeps his word.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes him such a
He'll
threat to
keep
these
his
other.
word. He'll
Yeah, he
close down
does.
that border. He'll get people in charge to go out to Colorado, where these immigrants are taking over, these buildings, these
Apartments.
complexes.
Yep.
Yeah, and he'll round them up like a
Yeah.
cowboy movie, and he'll say to the country that says we're not taking them back, he says you're going to take them back, and we're going to drop them right down your chimney. I
Yeah.
mean,
Put
that's
him
what
in
he's
the
going to.
back of a C-130 and say, throw a parachute on him and pitch him outside, just like they were down in First Airborne,
Geez.
right? That's what I do. Here you go, pal. We're over Venezuela. Give them a swift kick in the ass and
I
pull the
think
ripcord on their parachute and say adios.
I just
Don't
hope
land
the
in a
country
tree.
can somehow. I hope Donald Trump's successful because success will always bring people together,
Hmm.
right? It's really
Yeah.
the only way that so many people hate the man
Yeah.
that they can't get past their hatred and say, did the guy have great policies? Well, I shouldn't say they can't because the country did, but there's still almost half the country that hates the guy and voted against the guy. And I listen to some of these guys, with the exit interview. Why didn't you vote for Trump? Well, I don't like the way he talks. Well, if
Yeah.
my
So
heart
what?
surgeon talks like a jerk, but he's the best in the
Yeah.
world, I'm not going to say get out of
So
here. I'm going to,
all right.
you know,
Right. So you're a little bit abrasive, right? Which he is, okay? He's a little bit abrasive, okay? But look what he's done here. When's the last time you could ask yourself that a Democrat like John F. Kennedy Jr. there, okay, switched over there to the Republican Party, and so did Tulsi Gabbard, okay? These are people who were lifelong Democrats, and what they both said is basically they didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left
yeah,
them.
and I believe
Okay.
that. I think if anybody's watching the show and they're
Yeah.
Democrats, they will tell you that. Look, I used to tell people when you're born in Cohoes, New York, they get you home, they roll you over, and they stamp your ass like a piece of cattle that says USDA Democrat.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
that's what you're born. And
Yeah.
that's what you believe in. And Timmy, I'm going to tell you something. I think the worst thing that's ever happened to the United States of America is political parties because it
Yeah.
gives people a reason to have adversaries, right?
Hmm.
We
Yes.
all,
Yeah.
regardless of parties, have many of the same issues. But
Yeah.
because we become part of this cult, part of this
Yeah.
religion, which really is a business, a Republican business, a Democratic business, all wealthy people, all getting rich, all having cushy jobs that give them the best pay and the best pensions and the best health care for the rest of their life, while the rest of us peasants just try to survive. And all these clowns are running our lives and we stick up for them because we believe that, well, I'm a Democrat. What is a
Yeah.
Democrat?
You
I'm a
know, it was
Republican.
right. Right. It was about them having an ideology.
Well, of
And
course.
and I think over and correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe the last 10, 15 years somewhere like it seems to go on out the window with the Democratic Party, if not both, or all parties really.
Listen, I never really paid a whole lot of attention to the
No,
Republican
you
Party or the
vote. I think
platform.
what you do is you vote your conscience of what's good for you and your
Yeah, but
family.
that's not how we voted, Timmy. Let's be honest. When we were growing up, you voted as a Democrat. I didn't even know who I was voting for. They'd say, "You're a Democrat. Go in the booth. Go down the line. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, 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 boom." You did it. I did it, and 95% of the people in politics did it. Now, maybe as you got older, when you had kids and you had a wife and a mortgage, you started looking at the things in the country that really were hurting you or
Hmm.
helping you. And maybe you would once in a while say, I like the Republican because he's got click, but I'll jump back down to the Democrats and click, 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 click. right? Because the
Hmm.
reality, that's how you're conditioned. A whole entire country, generation after generation after generation, convinced that you have to be part of a party and that you need to stick with the party. And it doesn't matter what they do, that's who you are.
Yeah.
And you know
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I can no longer do that. I can no longer watch babies being murdered in 8 months. I
Yeah.
can no longer watch men fighting women, or
In
playing
sports.
soccer with women kicking a ball down their throat,
Yeah.
or swimming against them and stealing their,
Walking,
their
right,
whole.
walking in their showers, walking in their
Yes,
bathrooms,
and I can't
See,
support
yeah,
that. So they
right.
pushed me to a place where I said, "Wait a minute. I don't need to have a party. I don't want to be part of a party. I want to be
Hmm.
Sean Morris, who has a family, who looks at his family and says, what's best for me and my kids and my grandkids? And I
Yeah.
don't give a shit about your ideology. Most people are fooled. Most people are buffaloed. I lived in the arena. I watched the games. I watched elections get stolen. I watched how they manipulated people. I watched how they threatened people that if they ran, they'd destroy their lives. I had my life destroyed. I
Yeah.
got this shit down like,
Yeah. You've
like
been there,
Peyton
you've
Manning
seen
knew
it,
how to throw a
and you
football.
lived it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So when people say to me, oh, you're a Democrat, I'm not a Democrat no more. I am
Yeah.
an independent thinker that looks
Yeah.
at people who are running for office
Yeah.
and what they can do best for me. If they lie to me and I get buffaloed, shame on me. I go
Yeah.
on to the next 4 years, right? Or the
Yeah.
next mayorship or the next
Yeah.
councilship, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But
Same thing with me.
so many people can't get past it. So many
Hmm.
people. I'm a Democrat. Congratulations, right? You're
Yeah.
a Democrat. What has that done for you?
Yeah.
What has it done for you? And but people have been conditioned
Yeah. And there's
over
no
their
benefit,
whole
real,
life.
right. And I really don't see any positive benefit really being affiliated to a party other than it gives you a right to vote, mostly in a primary,
Well,
you
that's
know?
all it does. All it really does is it's a way for you to fit into some pigeonhole. Like
Yeah.
that's your moral compass, and you have to fit into this
Yep.
pigeonhole because you know that's where you live. That's what you're brought up to do, and you can vote for the people you like in the primary. Comes
Hmm.
general election, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
You vote
especially
for
right, right in Cohoes, where really we're a one-party city, aren't we?
we're a one party state.
Well, yeah, that's true, but I
And we're a
mean,
one party state. And look at we're a one party state, and the majority of people, when they cast their vote, aren't even paying attention to what they vote for. And I'll talk
especially
about
upstate. Yeah.
Proposition 1. We're going to talk about it in a little while, but Proposition 1 is a great example of the
Mm,
facade that they put
yeah.
up. The blinking lights, the Hollywood, it all looks so freaking good.
Hmm.
Its name just sucks you in.
Yeah.
And then you find out that none of it is what really it's not even really what they told you. It's not even what the headlines say. Look, I was a lawmaker. They would come up with some title to suck in. It's the hook,
Yeah.
okay? And they would say, let's this law is about you know building a I don't know. In the county, it's a little smaller than the state. Maybe it was we're going to spend 500 million to build a new trail going from Albany to Cohoes. It was a great thing. Everybody wants the new trail, but stuck inside that trail, Bill, is 800 things that nobody wants.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the only way to get the thing they want is that nice walking trail so they can say to their community, look, I built you a nice walking trail, which, believe it or not, in Albany County was one of the hottest items when we took like a vote across the whole county. It was like 90% of the people wanted it. But
Hmm.
inside of that was 95% of things that had nothing to do with a
Pork.
walk.
Right. It's the pork you talk about.
Well,
Okay.
it's not just pork. Sometimes it's
Yeah.
actual laws that change,
Hmm.
like Proposition 1. It's not just an equal rights amendment, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot more than that. It's not an abortion bill like they sold to everybody. It's almost nothing about abortion. And all I'm saying is that if people would step back for a minute and say, we've been bullshitted for too long. We are all struggling while these clowns are living the best life. And we're just going to
Yeah.
the polls like we're zombies, and we're pulling the levers. And I'm talking both Republicans and Democrats, Timmy. I'm not taking sides. But that's what they do. And they don't even read half the stuff they vote for. They don't research half the stuff they vote for. If they do any research today, it's on TikTok, on a 15-minute TikTok or 15-second.
And you know, and we're influenced up here by what goes on really down in New York City.
We're owned.
It's
we're owned.
Us against 8 million down there. Okay,
we are owned by New York City.
Yeah, we are. It's 8 million down there. If you didn't have that New York City, okay,
don't have
we'd
a voice.
probably be a purple or a red state or something like that.
I don't know what color would you be, but we certainly would not have to be stuck into the quicksand of these morons who are so far left that I don't even know what to say about them, because I don't want to insult people.
Yeah.
I just want to say to people, if you're so far to the left that you're buying all this shit just because you think you're a Democrat, step back for a minute and remember you're a human, and you have people that are going to count on you, and your vote really matters. And what you vote for is something that you should understand fully. Vet the people you're voting for. Understand the props that you're voting for. Don't just go in there and say, I'm a USDA Democrat, stamped on your ass from a young boy. And
I kind of think that happened in Cohoes yesterday too, because the reports is that, and I don't have the exact numbers, but I think it was 2 or 3 to 1 that Cohoes, which is a Democrat city, and and it's a state, is that Trump won Cohoes.
I would tell you that Trump probably won upstate New York.
He probably did. I agree, except for Albany County.
He got 3 million votes. I guarantee. Who knows if he won Albany County?
I think he did. I think the last time where he ran, he won an awful lot of New York State, but there's only 2 counties he didn't win. Albany was one of them, and of course New York City down there. Okay, Long Island. Basically, they actually control the whole vote.
Look at sadly, Albany, and people can hate me for it if they want. I'm not talking about.
I don't care anyway.
Albany is a cesspool. Kathy Sheen is the biggest failure ever to be mayor of that city. The council may have some good-hearted people, but their policies are so far to the left that they just don't make sense to the everyday person. If you go down to Albany, you're either ducking from bullets or you're trying to find a place to eat at 4 o'clock and there's nothing open.
Well, they're a proud sanctuary city. They say so.
Right. But Kathy Sheen, instead of worrying about Albany's on a bus with that Pat Fahey, another huge failure, who's now a state senator. The woman shouldn't be anything. She should be working at a freaking Hot Dog Charlie's, okay? And there's nothing wrong with working at Hot Dog Charlie's, but certainly she shouldn't be up there in the center having control of my life.
Yeah.
She's the one who wanted your kid to take a V in arm at 14 with no consent of his parents. These are the kind of people. These are the kind of people that run your life. So they're all on a bus heading to Pennsylvania to knock on doors and campaign.
Yeah, they did that. Yeah, I saw that with Sheehan.
They're shooting each other.
Right.
It's. What are you doing in Pennsylvania? Yo, Kathy. Yo, come back to Albany. I know it's a shithole because you ruined it. But maybe you could start working on it so somebody else can take your place and fix it and make it be the capital that we're all proud of.
It must have been a long, quiet ride back from Pennsylvania. It's sort of like coming back from a Yankee game on a bus.
She's a loser. She's been a loser ever since she got involved in politics.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is that it's an example of saying, what's wrong with this pitcher? You got your own city falling apart.
And they're going to Philadelphia. It's crazy.
They're going knock on doors. You should be knocking on doors in Albany and Arbor Hill saying, what can I do to help you?
Yeah.
How can I help you get out of this mess?
And that's right. And that's the trouble.
How many people in Albany asked her to go to Pennsylvania? Maybe they didn't support Kamala
Did they
Harris.
did they do it on their own dime?
Who the hell knows? There's no
Yeah.
such thing.
Yeah.
Your own time. Timmy, listen, I want to jump over to something else because it just kind of poor Peanuts.
Oh, dude, I knew you were going to bring up Peanut.
I had to
Poor
bring up
Peanut.
Peanuts because I once had a little squirrel that I call them Nuts.
Yeah.
But I was able to get Nuts back into the woods after I fixed them up. Right.
Yeah.
This is well, let me just play the video first.
Yeah.
I know everybody has seen it by now, but I
Mhm.
want to talk about this to put a few things in perspective.
Longo says he was blindsided on Wednesday morning when agents from the State Department of Environmental Conservation came looking for his famous squirrel.
I was just going through my daily routine of feeding all of our 71 rescue horses at our nonprofit Animal Rescue. Midway through that, a line of DEC officers, about 6 to 8 of them.
6 to 10
Yeah.
DC officers come barging into this man's house,
Mhm.
interrogate him, interrogate his wife, destroy their house.
5 hours. They're in there 5 hours.
For 5 hours. Stick them in the bathroom looking for a freaking squirrel, Tim.
Mhm.
Looking for a squirrel.
A squirrel, which was
squirrel.
their pet squirrel named Peanut.
We have people being raped and murdered and assaulted and the shit beat out of them and pushed in trains and dying from fentanyl. And if they do catch you, you're back on the street in 15 minutes.
With bail reform.
But if you have a squirrel,
Right. As a
If you have
pet,
a pet
that
squirrel
you
that you're
saved
trying to-
when it was a baby.
yeah, you're now got DC coming to your house, kicking your friggin' door down.
Down.
Here's my point. And I want to bring it back to Proposition 1. Here's my point. This is the grossest display of government overreach. This is unacceptable in the United States of America. There's a lot more efficient and effective and professional ways to say to this guy, hey, listen, you're going to have to bring Peanuts down to the shelter and we're going to have to hold them until you can work all this shit out. But no, they take Peanuts, the poor bastard, and they
Yep.
euthanize them
Yeah.
because they said, oh, he bit somebody. But
Yeah,
what
and they-
about
and
his
so-
buddy, the raccoon? He didn't bite nobody.
Right. And it's the
And he
only
got
way
the needle
to find
too.
out if it had rabies. Okay.
Well, the raccoon didn't bite nobody, so poor
Right.
Peanuts gets killed. And his little buddy, who didn't bite nobody, well, since we killed Peanuts, we might as well kill the raccoon too.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
the overreach of them coming to your house with a warrant
Yeah.
when
6
people are,
people.
Yeah.
DEC.
and we have people who are being murdered, people
Yeah.
being raped. We have people who need the police, and police don't even show up at their door. But we found a
Right.
way to go to this poor man's house, interrogate him and his family. It is fucking disgraceful. It is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life.
Right. He had
And
that
if you-
squirrel for like 6 or 7 years, I believe.
And they found some loophole in one of their laws that they made that let them go do this. Okay? So you have a bureaucratic agency within the state of New York coming up with some cockamamie way of coming to his house and holding the man prisoner for 5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. And I believe really that's why Trump won Pennsylvania, because of what they did to the federal government did to that Amish farmer. I think his name was Emo or some. I'm not sure. Okay, but the guy, he sells cheese, eggs, chickens, cows, and all that other stuff. Makes breads and everything. And they came in and they shut him down. Okay, saying you can't do all that stuff. You can't even have a farm. What's going to happen next, Sean? You can't have a little tomato garden in your backyard? Is that next?
It's insane, but I
it's
wouldn't
the
tell you that.
overreach.
Well, so let me draw this into the Proposition 1.
Mm-hmm.
Because for the people who are telling me I'm a moron, that this stuff doesn't happen, that this
Yep.
stuff can't happen, that
Yep.
that proposition wasn't what I'm telling people it is. Here you go, my friends.
Right.
When they come into your house with 10 agents from some other bureaucratic agency, let's just say it's, you know,
NCON,
What-
DEC, or whatever.
no,
Yeah.
what's the one that comes and takes your freaking kids?
Child protection.
Child Protective. So when Child Protective comes and said, we're going to take your freaking kid because they're trying to transition and you're discriminating against their constitutional rights to do it by telling them no as their parent. This is unacceptable, parents. You can't do this. And we're going to take your kid and place him in a home until we can figure this all out. And when people say to me, that doesn't happen, turn
It
to
does.
California, who has the same laws that we copycat after. And there was a mother on TV the other day where they came and took her 7-year-old kid
Hmm.
and her 10-year-old kid. The
And then
10-year-old kid
right.
was trying to transition, but might as well take them both because you're a bad parent because you wouldn't let the kid take beta blockers or whatever the hell the blockers are,
Yeah,
ball
and-
blockers.
and you-
I don't
and-
know the names of all these.
And they don't even have to
Puberty
tell the parents because under HIPAA laws, okay, his privacy, okay.
Well, I don't
is-
even know if it's laws. It's under the Constitution that grants the kid, regardless of age,
Yeah.
an absolute
part of it is
right
HIPAA
under
law,
the
yeah.
Constitution. I try to explain this to people. I try to make it simple. First of all, I know enough about politics. Second of all, I talked to some of the lawmakers. Third of all, I talked to some of the lobbyists, all the people pushing this bill. First and foremost, you know what this was? This was labeled an abortion bill, trying to push all those good abortion servants out to vote. So they put the prop out there trying to make sure you would vote, thinking that if you didn't go out, abortion would be taken away in New York State. So that's the first reason that this proposition was on the back of the ballot. Okay? Had nothing to do with abortion. It had everything to do with getting people to come out and vote. So if you give them a reason, if you say if you believe in something so strongly and you say that if you don't vote for this, we could lose it, they come out and vote. Secondly, Timmy, there was a whole bunch of people who can make a whole lot of money off of this bill if all these lawsuits take place.
Yeah, especially the lawyers. Yep. And
Okay.
look I expect that to happen too.
Well, it is going to happen. That's why
It's gonna.
you had one of the biggest organizations behind it represent lawyers. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, think about this. This is what I tried to say. I just tried to put it in the simplest form. Forget about everything they're telling you. Think about this. If New York State passed a law that said, New York State, you do not have a right to carry a gun, or New York State, you don't have a right to free speech, what would happen? Somebody
they-
would sue the state saying what? My constitutional rights to
Were
bear
violated.
arms or to free speech has been violated, and you would sue them under the Constitution.
Right. So the lawyers they write up a law that they know that is only going to get challenged in court. So they basically giving themselves work.
But
Yeah.
but you follow me, right?
Yes.
So if they tell you you can't carry your gun or you can't have free speech, and they make a law, you got to go file a lawsuit under the Constitution,
Hmm.
the United States Constitution that gives you these rights. Well, the New York State Constitution is the same type of Constitution, but it only affects the state of New York.
Yes.
So if the state of New York has a constitutional amendment that gives you a right to sue based on discrimination of age, sexual identity, and your parents won't let you have transition at 13 years old,
Yep.
you could sue your parents,
Right. Yeah.
right? Or somebody else could sue the LGBTQ SUI, the group that they are, will sue on his behalf
Yeah.
and say, We're going to sue his parents. And then in the meantime, they come up with some administrative bullshit. Oh, well, if you're doing that to a 13-year-old kid, that's abuse. And we our definition of abuse is that you took away his rights. So
And
now
then they
we're
come
going
and
to
take away your kids.
If you think that shit is far fetched, just take a look at Peanuts.
Yeah.
They did it to Peanuts.
Yeah.
They'll do it to your kids. They're doing it in California. I'm not crazy. I'm not a fool. I'm telling you, shit is happening.
Liz Joy, who was on our show 2 weeks ago, she said it happened to this guy here named Mr. Hannon with his 7-year-old boy or something like that.
He's still fighting to try to get his kid.
His kid, yeah, for get his kid back. And he has no rights to anything with his own kid.
So once again, stop being a fool, pigeonholed into a party that tells you what you need to do. Jim Jones once took all these people and said, love me, love me. We're all going to heaven. Love me. I'm your pastor. Come with me. We're going on this great vacation. And all these people went. And when they got to the island, he said, now drink this shit and you're going to meet God.
Yeah.
And they all start drinking it and die all over the ground. The ones that didn't die and said, screw you, and took off, they shot them in the back. They killed a congressman, right? I'm telling you that if you get caught up in this nonsense, if they think you're going to drink the Kool-Aid every time they offer it to you, you're fools and you're done. And you're going to live in a place where your lives are controlled and your lives are ruled and you have no say. And it's only getting worse, my friends. Open your eyes.
If you were to try to do this, say, in a deep South or Midwest or something like that, and those people are Cajun country, they're not going to put up with that. Okay.
Well,
and I think they'd fight back with arms.
I know who's fighting back right now. The United States of America. And the
with
people
last night's vote,
Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump said, no more this, which was transgender, puberty blockers, all these things, taking your kid. No more of that. Close the borders.
And that's what Kennedy's role is going to be in the administration, to stop all the poisoning that's going on, that's in the food and everything else.
You know that I've been arguing about food.
Yeah, you have.
First of all, I'm a fat bastard who's got diabetes, who's trying to go on a diet right now. I last 5 days, and after 5 days, here's what I got in front of me. You know what that is? Here, that's trick-or-treat candy. I'm eating the freaking bowl like I can't control myself. I understand the food that's killing you, and I'm putting it in my mouth. But you know what? Maybe they can help us by taking the poisons out of the food, and maybe I wouldn't have diabetes so bad. I got to learn to, but again,
right, they put caffeine in the soda, which and they had caffeine in. Was I wrong? Where they had caffeine in cigarettes? I believe. Everything to addict you to it. But
try to tell your 4-year-old granddaughter after she's watching her grandfather
that you're stealing her candy. Yeah,
the stolen candy.
Right, it's bad for her, so you got to eat it.
I've watched her eat food and a half hour later be so out of control that I can understand why you want to tie her to the chair, right?
Yeah.
She's just going haywire, kicking, screaming, yelling, throwing. Can't control her. And you know what? It's right after she eats the red dye and all those other dyes.
Yeah,
and
that's
I gave her a bowl of Fruit Loops. You would have thought she turned into a Fruit Loop.
Yeah, that's what, and that was one of the big issues too. It's the dyes that color the cereals, which do this to people, whether
only
it be
in the United States.
Children or whatever. And these same dyes that are in all of our cereals are banned in Europe.
Only in the United
States
States do we poison our people.
Yeah,
because you're just a person who's expendable.
Mm-hmm.
And my friends, folks, I'm talking to you. I'm looking right at you. And I'm telling you the truth. Government is not your friend. They're not always your enemy. They have a very important role in making sure that we can live a free society, that we're not getting attacked by other countries. The United States is a beautiful, wonderful the best country in the world. But the government and the power that they possess, they're willing to do anything to hold on to it. And it's the only weapon against that is you and I going to the voting booth. And you have to vote not based on what you think you heard, what you think you know, what somebody told you, what you watched on TikTok. You got to think it through and ask yourself, am I better today or will I be better tomorrow? Is this person better for me or is this person better for me? Political parties are poison. Political parties have divided this country. We have become the Hatfields versus the McCoys, and we will stay that way. And we will never think about what's best. We will only think about what our side, our group, our religion, our union tells us is best for us. And you're walking towards the cliff, and the more they tell you what to do, did you ever think, as a 57-year-old man, anybody my age, did you ever think you'd have to be arguing about what a boy is versus what a girl is?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you ever think after women fought to vote and have all of the rights of this country that in 2024 we would be stealing their rights away, to the very fundamental values that we fought to give them, that they
And,
deserved from the beginning, but they had to fight for it? You
Right.
really think that we should let, a grown man into the boxing ring with a woman? Do you really think that a girl who's worked her life to become the best swimmer, who will get a scholarship to the best college, maybe get on the box of
Yep,
Wheaties?
Riley Gaines, yep.
Yeah. Did you ever think that that woman would be beat by a man who came in last place in every race he's ever been in
Against men.
So he decides to tell people he perceives himself to be a woman, and he goes and swims and steals away all
And you
of
got
their
right,
hard
and
work.
and you got a male on a volleyball team with San Diego State. 5 other
Just
teams
saying,
refused to
did you
play.
ever think
Yeah,
those things would be the things you're talking about in 2024? Well,
Yeah.
it's the left crazy liberals. They're a small group with a big mouth, and
Yeah.
they push an agenda, and we don't pay attention, and they jam it down our throats, and you wake up one day and you got a problem.
And when you oppose them, they say, "Oh, you're marginalizing me."
Oh, you're
Well,
marginalized,
right.
you're a racist, you're
So
misogyny, you don't like women,
Right.
you're this,
So
you're
I
that.
want to
and the-
respond to Joanne here, Doggett, who said, she fails to understand how underage, someone that's underage can, of legal consent, is able to make life-altering decisions, and she's spot on with that. Okay, how can a kid that's 10, 11, or 12 or whatever, okay, make a decision that they want to change their gender?
Well, listen, when people tell you that
It's-
it doesn't happen, let's just go back and look at some of the things that started out.
I go after the adults for putting that in their heads.
Well, go back and look at some of the laws that started out the same way as Prop 1.
Prop 1, yeah.
A girl doesn't need her parents' consent for an abortion. She doesn't need her parent consent to be treated for sexual diseases. She doesn't need her parent consent to get on the pill, which if they went on the pill, there'd be less abortions,
Right.
right?
And
So
Prop
we
1
already,
is the camel's nose under the tent,
Right.
like I told you 2 weeks ago.
we already let little kids make life-altering decisions
Yeah, we do.
under the premise of it's best for them, when in fact
Equal rights.
it's really more about politicians trying to build a conglomerate around them to get more votes. So if you don't think that it can happen, just remember it wasn't supposed to happen with abortions, but it does, or birth control, but it does. And there's a lot of other things that kids are starting to be able to do on their own without parent consent. So what starts out or sounds like something good, there's something very mysterious about it and sinister. And I'm no longer going to put my family in a position where if it smells like shit, it sticks to the bottom of your shoe like shit. Well, guess what? It's
It's
shit.
shit.
And I'm not going to put my family in a position to say, that's not shit.
Yeah.
Okay. It is. And
Yeah.
we're putting
And you
ourselves,
don't like it.
That's right, and we're stepping in a lot of shit right now. Hey Tim, let's jump over to the last segment of the show.
Showed
right?
up and
We always
gave
have
me a warrant
our.
for a squirrel and a raccoon.
The search warrant said Longo was in unlawful possession.
We always end with our news segment, hot news. So I haven't really paid attention to a lot of the local stuff in the last couple of days, knowing that the presidential race was coming up, proposition and all that stuff. But hey, April Trudeau, congratulations on your victory, right? April
Yep.
won, Timmy, pretty well.
She was hoping to come. She sent the message saying she's stuck at work.
She's stuck at work.
Yeah, she's stuck at work, and that's the last message
that
I
mean?
got. Well, she's working.
What does that got to do with her winning the election?
Well, she can't. She wanted to come on to the podcast.
Oh, okay. So, well, I didn't. I failed
Yeah.
to hear you say that. Yeah, I wish she could have came on, but I understand. She's a hardworking girl. That's why she won.
Yeah, I mean, she did. I mean, she's really got 2 jobs. She's also trying to raise a child. It's got school events and all these other stuff. And you look at, she worked her ass off, okay, going door to door and all these things here. And she if she was dedicated to her cause, and eventually we're going to get her on, and when she can break away, but it took a lot of time from her, but it was a big win for her, Sean, down there in the 6th ward.
Sure was. Hey, listen, Timmy, think about this, right? She's a glowing example of and she sets an example for all young girls, right?
Yeah.
And boys as well. I mean,
She's
here's
only
a girl that ran 2
32.
campaigns, lost both times.
Yeah.
But she wanted this thing so bad, and she kept fighting for it. And guess what happened? She wins.
Right.
Well,
And that's what
when
she
you're
did.
knocked down, get back up, brush your shit off, and move forward. If you want something bad enough, keep fighting for it until you can't breathe no more.
Right. And that's what Carmelo did over in Troy.
Yes, Carmelo lost so many times in Troy. If you want something bad enough and you believe in yourself, you're going to get knocked down. Who doesn't get knocked down? How do you learn if you don't have failure?
Yeah.
She failed. She got up, redesigned her campaign strategies, went out there and won against all odds.
Yeah, and it wasn't an easy thing. She kept a positive attitude and didn't let herself get down despite some of the things that were happening. She had like 38, as best I know the number, of her yard signs that people asked to put on their properties and stuff. She had 38 of her signs stolen. Or even vandalized them.
And they're stealing and vandalizing your signs, they're scared of you.
Yeah. So yes, and this was happening, and she had signs with her photo on it, which was the only ones with a photo on it. And these people were going up there, and they were using some kind of blades and stabbing it with blades and stabbing at the. It was insane that was going on a little island, only about a mile long. Half a mile wide, something like that.
The hose is quickly becoming insane. I don't know about you, but
and why that can happen down there in the island, okay? But look, in the end, okay, she she put her shoulder to the grindstone there, and she just kept plugging away, stayed positive, and was not going to let these people here take this away from her. And she worked hard, and she's got it. So, hey, hopefully she'll be a good representative for the people down there. Hopefully we can get her on a podcast, Sean.
Why are you ignoring me?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you ignoring me?
Me?
Yeah, you said she put her shoulder to the grindstone.
I
said, why didn't she put her nose to the grindstone? I'm just high on candy right now, okay?
Yeah.
I broke out the candy bowl, and I had about 42 Kit Kats. I got to go take insulin because I'm going to have a stroke, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
But, hey, Tim, it was good to see you. I think it was a good day for the country overall. Whether or not you voted for Trump or you voted for Kamala Harris, it's always and it shows the greatness of this country that the people decided who the next leader is going to be. And that's something many people don't get in other countries.
Yeah, and I hope it stays a peaceful transition,
I hope it's a peaceful transition. I hope Trump is he's a stand-up man, understands that there's a whole half of the country that doesn't like his mannerisms, and maybe he can tone it down a little bit. But more importantly, let's hope that he continues to do what he always has done, which
Mhm.
is this is what I said, I'll get this done.
Yeah.
Close that border, fix some of these problems, help us afford our groceries. And if you hate Donald Trump, find it in your heart to love the country. If you hate Kamala Harris, find it in your heart to love the country. She bowed out gracefully. I thought her speech was really moving. I have no hard feelings. I don't think she was ready for this game, but I doubt it. If she
Well,
was
she
ready,
got thrust into this position if
I
you
doubt
really
it
think
if she
about
was
it.
ready. But I don't doubt she will be back someday.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
until then, Timmy, I'm gonna have one more Kit Kat, and then I'm gonna go to
Yeah,
bed.
steal your granddaughter's candy while you're on the podcast. That's it.
Hey, everybody, Truth Lies Political Bullshit, Sean Morris, and my good friend Timmy on the
Adios.
Fifth Ward podcast. Take care.